Our next company is Tulix, which is a CDN based in Atlanta. And Tulix has been doing some very interesting things. And we're going to be speaking today with George Bokuchava, who is the CEO from Tulix. George, welcome.
Hello. Hello,
Thanks for
everyone.
joining. Good. Thanks for joining us. Let's dive right in. Since we're on a tight schedule here, we want to talk with you about the streaming workflow. And as you see it, what are some of the most, as people evaluate their workflows to increase efficiency, to save costs, to improve quality, what are the most important items in that workflow that they should be looking at?
Excellent question. Actually, I'd like to also to share with you guys that the previous presentations were very interesting. I think for me, obviously, for everyone else, and this actually lets me to talk about some stuff which was covered in previous presentation, because the Tulix is a company whose focus is OTT installations, including existing products, as well as our very strong side is custom installations. During custom installations, we're evaluating different products, existing products, as well as we're evaluating all the cutting edge technologies, because the minute the technology will show up, which makes our solutions more efficient, more cost effective, higher quality, this is what we're trying to utilize. And this goes along with the question actually, which we just got, because it's very often pretty challenging to find out what are the most critical component in the workflow, with the OTT workflow, where you have an origination, where you have a source, where you have encoding, packager, CDN, application, conditional access, and all this kind of stuff. This is actually what Tulix covers, all the components. The interesting part also is that we have our default or internal solution, but we are very happy, and our strong side is to work with partners. Like we just recently, we didn't announce yet officially, but we have a partnership with an application company. So where we can obviously we have similar ones on the, by the way, CDN side. We have also on the encoding side, and we're going through a deep analysis for each component before we'll put in our mix. So one of the more interesting, and the whole environment is so dynamic. So whatever was important yesterday, it may not be as important today. Whatever was problematic yesterday may not be problematic today. Whatever is problematic today may not be anymore tomorrow. And we have to deal with it, because we're putting for complete solutions, and those complete solutions we cannot, blame any vendor or any technologies. Our customers are expecting the systems will work, and they don't care about, whose component we use or what technology we use. So saying that, on CDN side, we have a so-called hybrid solution. And hybrid solution, it's a little bit probably different from a lot of other, so technologies, which probably relates to CDN. But we're utilizing a very limited number of data centers, and we're trying to do vertical scaling in those data centers by utilizing optimized network. But of course, in some cases, we have to utilize so-called points of presence at remote locations and so on. Now, this is was a result of multi-year experience and research that we've done. And what's interesting, it allows us to work with a lot of different protocols. For example, WebRTCs, or any other protocol. Will be ZIX, will be SRT, will be any other protocol which require kind of point-to-point. Doesn't have to be peer-to-peer, it's point-to-point where it's important. And this is actually, we are very well prepared for such type of, and we're doing that actually when we have customers, we have to distribute content, not only B2C environment, but B2B environment, like to different cable companies, ISPs, or MVPDs, or across the globe. This is what we're doing because we can utilize our infrastructure, which is scalable. Now, also was very interesting question regarding scalability, right? Scalability is, throwing to the cloud. I understand it could be very unexpected for a lot of probably viewers, but listeners. But what we're noticing in some cases, cloud's performance is not what we would like to see. And we have our internal cloud, and without covering external, like public clouds, even one of our internal projects is to decloudize. So what we're doing, we're remoting virtual instances from our private cloud and putting on bare bones servers just to increase performance. To increase performance, we also utilize now in process of doing research, and we're doing already for some time, of utilizing FPGA-based systems. And we're heavily now in halfway in the project of trying to utilize hardware-based SSL accelerators. This all being done just to increase performance of our bare bones systems, which will allow us to provide guaranteed quality. And again, in OTT world, when every user could give a call to support and say, my system doesn't work, and you cannot, start explaining why it doesn't work, we have to make system work. Now, one of the interesting things, what we've finding out, it's kind of direct, probably a response to the question, is that, and this is one of the most important component, what we notice, it's encoding packager. Before we kind of weren't splitting between those two, but what we're seeing, it's more and more the packager, which I don't think that companies are paying attention, because usually it works, or if it doesn't work, people are trying to find it somewhere else. Solution packager are playing a real key role. And obviously I'm talking about HLS dash environment in this particular case, or HTTP based protocol. So obviously we're dealing with a lot of different players. We're dealing, multiple devices, connected TVs, mobile devices, PC, Mac environment, all this stuff. Obviously, we're dealing with a lot of different players. But what we saw across the board, obviously, we cannot guarantee that each player will perform well. But what we saw, that the packager, again, I'm sorry for repeating one more time, but this is one of the keys. I understand that maybe companies didn't have that experience yet, or hopefully never will, from the point of view of seeing not high quality, but this is one of the things. Obviously, encoder, sometimes we see not the high performance, let's call it CDN, or player have problems with playing some content. First thing what comes to your mind, oh, it's something with CDN. In reality, it's not a CDN. Again, it's encoding packager, which is very difficult to actually notice, because the same stream at a remote location could work not as well as in your master controller by watching the same output of the same encoder package. Again, sorry for, it's kind of basic stuff on one hand. On the other hand, I'm talking about the stuff which is difficult not to notice, is difficult to troubleshoot. So this is what actually I wanted to cover. And from technology's point of view, I think what we see, one of the questions was with this lockdown kind of situation where a lot of people are sitting at home and all the stuff, we saw 30 to 40% increase of traffic. The interesting part, we just did an upgrade at the beginning of the year, so we didn't have to do any upgrades anymore at this point. But we're not now getting ready for the next upgrade, which was planned, sometime at the end of the year. But we are in the process actually now of upgrading our network to get ready for the next steps. Is there any questions, or I'll be happy to answer? Two.
Sorry, I've got a couple questions here.
Sure.
And I will say, one of the things I love about the way this has all come together is that anyone watching is seeing how these different players in the streaming ecosystem work together. George, you mentioned FPGA and hardware. Xilinx is going to be talking about that. You mentioned WebRTC. Red 5 talked about that. But you talked about the increase in traffic that you saw and the increase in usage that you saw. And of course, one of the things that has happened over the last 2 months is that publishers that previously did not have an OTT solution are now realizing they need to embrace OTT as a way to reach their customers. Can you talk about some of the challenges that those companies face and the way that a company like Tulix can help them meet those challenges?
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect question. Actually, you're helping me out a lot because I was planning to talk about that by kind of myth. So, obviously, it's not just the usage which increased during those last couple of months. What we saw, it's a huge increase in the need of in OTT solutions. Now, people understanding OTT solutions like some big systems and big broadcasters. No, actually, what we're talking about is all the gyms, all the like dance clubs, restaurants, all the places where before people were coming and I had the activity in person and they cannot. What we start doing actually, first several we did it pro bono. We did it for free. We did just as an experiment. We are decided that we are putting them online in a very quick manner. And as a result of that, by the way, we decided to come up quickly with a new product. Nothing fancy, we're building systems which are OTT, which are multi-channel, multi-VOD, all this kind of stuff. No, what we decided to put quickly to help everyone out, it's so-called membership website. Membership website when a small organization just could come, sign up, and put a combination of obviously their video clips, for example, training materials. But unlike other sites, we'd like to add also live streaming, and it just like a value add. Maybe it's a HD audio. I just interested in all the stuff. So I saw that I haven't seen too many HD audio systems, but there also HD audio which help out to musicians. We're actually this week in the process of now one more pro bono project for helping out to the restaurant, which suffers obviously because of COVID-19. And what they're focusing on to focus more on musicians. Musicians will be coming 3 times per week and will help them to monetize to restaurant as well as musicians. And since we're doing that, we're thinking about helping out. Again, it's a low barrier entry. It's no cost, and it's very simple to manage. Again, this is our strength. This is our strength. Our strength is not building huge, big systems, which we obviously can over time, but to put together based on our system, based on our infrastructure, our perfect cost structure, which allows us to have very low cost solution. I think this is what need a lot of those small companies which are going out of business because or it's too expensive to get their stuff online, or it may take too long time to do that. And this is our goal.
Right. And along with that, and we've got I've got about a minute left. I know one of the things that Tulix has really helped companies with is monetization. These companies, they need to get online, but then they need to figure out a way to monetize their content or to use video to monetize their business. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is again where we're helping companies with what we're noticing. So imagine it's a small company to medium-sized company and they want to monetize their content. They have to find a separate billing systems, clearing house. They have to find separate CDN. They have to find separate app builder. They have to do all this stuff. Now, if you're building application, multiple platform, each application has their own store, their own billing system, their own, in-app purchase or whatever. What we're helping to consolidate everything in one single location, make it so simple that any one-man shop could deal with the whole thing and deal with it successfully. And this is what we're doing. Again, called consolidation, make it simple, cost-effective, and this is exactly what we think that those a lot of small companies need, and we're actually helping them out. We're just coming up with a product to help them out with that.
Terrific. Thanks so much for taking the time to spend with us today, George.
Thank you.
Tulix.com is the website. Someone just asked that in chat. People can get in touch with you there and find out a little bit more. So thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.